Hi there, Pillar People. Recently, we went to an ETH Global event here in London. And at that event, I took the chance to sit down with Drew and talk a little about the product vision and listen to what he had to say regarding priorities and why the vision is what it is. Listen up.
So ever since, all of last year and ever since we released the first version of the product, we have been mainly focused on core wallet technology. Sending, receiving, supporting of assets, collectibles and tokens, just basic things. Also, with that vision, we began to look at how the evolution of the core technology and the baseline has changed in terms of how the design paradigm and pattern for wallets with the emergence of smart contract-based wallets versus key and legacy-based wallets. And a lot of focus, even just on that side, also with the PPN and the payment network. This is stuff that we realized was important from a technology and a scalability and a user experience standpoint in order for us to then build services upon, which has always been the vision, including the personal data management and everything else that comes with that. During this time, we've also carefully been watching as the state of the technology, the state of the industry has been evolving. And new exciting services around DeFi, around DAOs, around identity have all emerged, solutions in different various forms and formats. And it's important for us as a company being a consumer-facing product to be in lockstep. I talk about this a lot, but be in lockstep with emerging standards and where the industry is moving. Because if we just took our ideas and ran with them in a bubble and kind of in isolation specific to our own implementation without considering how the rest of the industry and the technology itself was maturing, it could really work against us. This, as people talk about how, especially within the DeFi and decentralized finance standpoint, how so much of what we're doing is based on money Legos. And it's this composability nature of putting all these things together, these various services and protocols and primitives together to create great and enticing user experiences and consumer-facing use cases. So it's even more important, especially also the emphasis on open source and everything that goes with that. It's even more important that we consider the importance of staying in concert and also then making partner collaboration kind of a key component of what we're doing at a day-to-day basis, because then it's not just about how the industry is emerging, but working with those key partners and those primitives and protocols to craft stories and use cases that are not just enticing for our users, but can set the example for how Web3 and decentralized finance and these new communal governance patterns and everything else can emerge to society and culture generally. So, in a very long-winded way, I guess it's exciting because I feel like we've finally reached a place where the foundation for the product, the platform is there. We have been very cognizant, and as a result, we're in a great place in terms of where we are at and what we can now start to cobble and what Legos we can start to bring into our narrative and our platform. Obviously, DeFi has been top of mind. It was one of the biggest topics throughout all of last year, continues to be so. Open finance, this idea that users and demographics from around the world can have access to financial services that they've never had before, or a lower barrier to those financial services, or a democratization around who's in control and who benefits from the supplier side of those people that are borrowing and vice versa, everything that goes with that. So, speaking specifically about the partner and some of the DeFi stuff, that's one of the reasons why we've now brought that focus into light. And we've started by taking 4 being the pool together sets, Sablier and Aave as kind of these core different, but all kind of working together pieces that can offer different use cases and benefits to our users. And then concurrently on like the DAO side, I would say along with DeFi, DAOs were also a large part of the conversation in the last year. The emergence of how communities can self-govern, how they can pool funds and solve problems that are most important to them. They can decide and vote on how to collectively spend their money without fear of someone running off with that money or it being misappropriated or whatever else. So, and I see this as almost like a natural evolution of social networks, and something we were talking about before, kind of action networks, or people kind of putting their money where their mouth is, and really letting putting money behind their decisions, and then having technology and software to be able to allow for that decision-making process in a safe and secure way. So these are like just talking at like a thematic level, these are all things that now make sense to come in, and taking it all the way back to our original vision around, personal data locker, personal data information management, the technology to do these things exists. The ability for us to create a platform that allows people to store their information and share it in a secure way, it's there. But again, it's about the why. And for us to prematurely introduce that to our users, we would probably get hit with a lot of responses of like, great, but why now? Or what do I do now? What's the point of this? So to introduce those narratives alongside stuff like DAOs, where we can now say identity combined with these governance tools, you can put up restrictions or limitations around this is a DAO specific to this geographic area, this neighborhood, specific to this credentialed practice. You must have a law degree, you must be a physician, you must, specific to a demographic, must be over this age or under this age. There's things that people might want to, enable that stuff. With the DeFi narrative, it's really interesting because you're starting to see the emergence of under-collateralized or uncollateralized lending, because right now a lot of the way DeFi works is it requires like a huge over-collateralization. You have to stake like 300% more than what you're borrowing. It's like, if I had the ability to do that, why would I even borrow in the first place, right? Why am I paying interest if I already have the money to do so? So naturally, the emergence of things like identity and reputation around as anchor points around, I'm going to lend from you, and I'm only going to collateralize it maybe up to 15%, not 300, or maybe not at all. I'm just borrowing. And the fact that what's now on the hook is my reputation as an individual in the space, my reputation in various DAOs that I participate in, and those things against identity, you start to see how the conversation and the reason for that and the need for that is there now. So this is what makes me most excited about where we're going, and a lot of the reason why all these components and how they all play in and where this vision kind of came from. And then obviously some of the most exciting stuff is around these huge partnerships that we've announced. And each of those also have their own very thoughtful, considered approaches as to why. We've seen how even some of the great tools that are behind DeFi and DAOs, but mainly DeFi, you can tell people now, look, you can earn 8%. At its best point, it was around 15% against your dollars, right? That still wasn't enough for a lot of people to join the DeFi movement, to move their dollars into DAI, to move their Ether into DAI, into which is like the core stable coin behind and primitive from a unit of account powering most of these DeFi things. And so if that carrot wasn't strong enough, if people earning money passively at amazing rates compared to the 2-3%, if that most people can get with a normal savings rate today, then there's got to be, it's not enough to pull people across the chasm as we've talked about, or has been said. So what do we need to do? We need to go where the communities are. We need to go where people are living and playing in Web 2 right now, right? People are on Facebook, people are on Instagram, they're in Telegram, they're, so finding ways to offer tools and opportunities to people where they already are without asking them to like do something different or come into your space, but then show them what they can do once you're kind of in their conversation and approach and meeting them where they are. A lot of people in the industry, I think, are starting to realize that, and that's one of the main things we're trying to accomplish with our partnership with Dank Memes is, a 15 million follower reach through Facebook. These people are obviously comfortable with where they're at. They're gonna stay there in collaboration with Dank to help show them this narrative. Also by presenting really cool use cases as to the why. We can see if we can't meet them where they are and then expose Web3 to existing Web2 communities versus asking them to join Web3 based on some carrot or something. With One World and Ocean, these are very thoughtful partnerships around the open data economy and personal data management pieces. One World is playing in the advertising space and the traditional ad publisher engagement space. We think that this is where a lot of the initial kind of open data economy will start. There's massive bloat in the ad industry. We can help to solve that problem in collaboration with them. We can also do interesting things where take ad units that would normally be held by or put on publisher websites like Newsweek, like what they're doing, and bring them directly into our platform, but more as like a poll or a quiz for a brand or a product to do market research and ask in an anonymized private way our users to give an opinion around X or Y and be rewarded for doing so, for giving their voice. We can take that data set. That's a revenue stream for us as a company and a benefit to these companies that are trying to build products likely for these users anyways. We can also turn around and anonymize those data sets and use that to help build this general open data economy that's emerging. And then obviously Ocean is really the solution provider that's working really hard to build that marketplace, build secure token standards for transmission of data in a kind of encrypted, decrypted fashion. So, it's a big thing to try and accomplish, but the first pieces are being laid, and we're trying to inject ourselves and really become the consumer-facing, avenue or piece to that conversation, whereas Ocean is very much focused on the larger protocol, primitive tech infrastructure piece. One World is very focused on the advertiser-publisher problem, specifically that B2B play. And we're sitting in this really nice spot of being this consumer-facing platform and wallet and how we can bring that narrative both to our users, but also then empower our users to become a part of that story as well and change these things to their benefit and to the benefit of those industries and the general possibility around data as the next oil, or as this really powerful asset class that's become more of or is technically a lot more of a liability in most cases than a benefit for both companies and individuals, especially when they aren't in control of how it's being used. At least allow them to voluntarily participate or not. It's their choice now, right? That's the goal. So. Obviously, the pulling everything out of early access, meaning the smart wallet, the PPN, even Bitcoin support, these types of things. I believe we're within weeks of that occurring. I'll keep it more general, but I think we're very close. And the reason that's been such an effort to reiterate is because it's not just one thing. It's a variety of pieces that we're intentionally releasing concurrently. And in addition with some new things that we haven't even worked on or we're just completing and introducing, along with new UX to really highlight the benefits and make sure that the experience is intuitive. Because right now, between where the wallet is, if you're not in early access and then what's in early access, there's a little bit it's challenging. There's a little bit of confusion around why this versus that. I think we're going to be able to clarify both the intent and the experience in terms of just the user experience a lot more easily with by this new kind of facelift we're giving everything. And huge usability benefits in the features themselves with ENS and relayers, ability to spend Pillar for gas, for contract deployments, for all these things. So the token is also going to become a large part of the conversation this year in the new ways you can use it, the benefits it can offer you, premium offerings around having and paying for a Pillar kind of premium subscription or a pro user type account. These are things we've talked about in the past, but that reality is definitely on the table this year and something we're looking to pursue. So once we get over that hurdle, we've already started conversations with a variety of our DeFi partners. I have close relationships with the people who we're collaborating with on the DAO front. So the design, the user experience, the wireframing already started for the Dank conversation, and because that's going to be a completely new deployment in the sense of, and product in the sense of a web wallet kind of catered to that use case and those users, because again, we need to meet them where they are, and we need to make sure that we're not asking them to just jump into our mobile platform, but rather give them an experience that they can grasp, that works for them, and then use the mobile as a complement to. Just like for our users on mobile, the web will be a complement to them. It'll be usable by both, but it's just more that product and user narrative. So that work in terms of wireframing and whatnot has already been started with our technology partner Abridged. So work is already, it's not a stop and start thing as much as a concurrent effort. When you'll start to see these things materialize, it's hard to put numbers or dates on right now. We are looking to surface a public roadmap around where in our priority list these partnerships and these features live. Putting dates against them, it's going to likely be more around, in the next few weeks you can expect X, or in the next few weeks you can expect Y. Next few months we're finally starting to expose this conversation more. And in some cases it'll be it's now live. It's just the fact of the matter. Being completely realistic too, there are things we might be exposed to this year. There might be challenges that we hit where what we've laid out in the roadmap shifts, at least from a priority standpoint. Certain things may come forward, certain things may be pushed back. This is just kind of the natural cadence of the industry, and again, goes in line with our very intentional and conscious thought to stay in lockstep with emerging standards and maturing things that are happening in the industry, versus making bets on more experimental things that we definitely have our eye on, but when to bring it to our users and to bring it into our platform is another decision. So.